Lesson 2, 6 ways to clarify the what. How can you clarify in words what something is? Sometimes it helps to use the journalist's 5 W's as a prompt. Who, what, when, where, and why or how. For instance, let's go back to the ethical will. Who? Typically, parents write it for their children and grandchildren. What? A non-legal document. When? You would write this when you were looking ahead to the time when you would be gone. Where? It's advised that you keep this with your legal will, or you could give it to your children and grandchildren when you're still around so you could all discuss it. Why? This is the crux, to pass on your values to the next generation. So, for the ethical will, the 5 W's really do help. They don't always help, though. A second method of clarifying the what is to compare what you're selling to something else that's familiar. For instance, a client once asked me to write a press release for a new type of men's underwear. Until he said it's a cross between boxers and briefs, I didn't get it. In making this comparison, he explained that they're long in the leg like boxer shorts, but tight-fitting like briefs. That helped. For a virtual assistant, you could say it's like having a top-notch secretary, but one that could be located anywhere in the country or even the world. We see this kind of comparative explanation a lot in the tech world. Something new is like Uber, but with lawnmowers, or it's like Facebook, but for blind people. Third, you could describe the components, ingredients, or sensory characteristics of the item. If people didn't understand what duct cleaning is, for example, it might help to explain the steps involved. First this, then that, and so on. Likewise, it would be helpful to say that your pair of meat shredder claws consist of heat-resistant plastic in the shape of sharp claws with an ergonomic wooden handle. Fourth, you can try a problem-solution framework. For duct cleaning, this is probably much better than describing the steps. If you have a forced air heating system and are experiencing poor indoor air quality, excessive dust in your home, inefficient heating or cooling, excessive asthma attacks or winter colds, it's time to get your air ducts cleaned. In the same way, the service that a professional mourner provides is a solution to a problem, either to save face when no one who's coming to the funeral is actually going to cry, or because the relatives of the deceased live too far away to attend the funeral. Fifth, you can clarify what something is by describing how it's better than alternatives. When I went looking for how people explained what a book shepherd is, I found a graphic showing all the steps involved, and it's really cute and effective. But you could also explain it in words like this. Instead of blundering your way through the self-publishing process, making every mistake in the book and wasting a lot of money, hire a book shepherd who knowledgeably guides you through the process with minimal hassle and maximal results. And sixth, you might add clarity about what by describing the emotional impact of the item. For instance, you could say that by taking super algae spirulina, you'll feel clean inside, full of energy, and ready to tackle any challenge in your busy everyday life. Notice that this might be more persuasive for readers than talking about how it contains vitamins B1, 2, and 3, iron, magnesium, iron, and potassium, or that it has a certain pH, or that it increases the body's production of nitric oxide. To recap, 6 what clarifiers to have in your copywriting toolbox are the 5 W's, comparisons with more familiar items or processes, the components making up the item, the problem that the product or service solves, how it's better than alternatives, and the emotional impact of what you're selling. Let's see now which of these tools proved most useful in 3 rewrites of the Babyography copy. Please download the Babyography After PDF now and take a few minutes to look through the different ways that 3 people dramatized and clarified this product. Turn off the video and do that now. One of the first things you probably noticed is that all 3 versions include a collection of bullet points that delineate the components of the product. That's a standard way copywriters list features. Observe that the bullets make these components jump out more obviously to the reader than when you describe something in paragraph form. Let me point out something especially interesting that the writer of version number 1 did in her bullet points. Instead of a simple list, she phrased each point as a question and answer, a conversation between parent and child, which drives home the way in which this product can encourage family conversation. This snippet combines components with emotional impact. Don't be afraid to try something like that. Another thing you'll see in all 3 versions is an emotionally tinged headline followed by a subhead. Don't ever forget to include a headline. Even the wimpiest, most boring headline is better than no headline. We'll spend a long time on the art of writing headlines later in the course. In version 1, we have preserve and forever, both emotionally positive words. In version 2, we have that doesn't grow old, and that's true both literally because of the quality of the paper used, and metaphorically because this is something members of the family will cherish for a long time. Cherished for years. That's a good job there as well. Notice that version number 2 resolved the problem of the word unique by saying instead, personalized, one of a kind. Is that redundant? Don't worry about that. Much of the time in copywriting, it's perfectly fine to say the same thing 2 different ways if that clarifies or emphasizes something, such as free, no cost. Then, in version number 3, the word keepsake has nice positive vibes, just like vividly capturing, like photographs do, but more unusually. Also in version number 3, the quote from LA Parent Magazine, which was actually in the before version but didn't fit on the one page, boosts credibility for the product, something we'll talk about in a later lesson as well. A few more pointers from the revisions. 7 years from now, as you and your child sit on your couch, that's an imaginative scenario. Very nice. Note that 2 out of the 3 versions mention the product size as 11 by 14, and version number 2 added legal size, which can help someone who doesn't have a ruler handy. The size is essential information. Likewise, 2 of the 3 versions mention the illustrations, which again is a necessary part of the what here. You need to make clear that it's not just text. Version number 2 says illustrated in rich watercolors, while version number 3 says whimsical illustrations surround the details. Don't be afraid to add value judgments that go beyond the facts, as in whimsical. And last, version number 3 referred to color-fast, fade-resistant paper, while version number 2 went just a little better on that aspect by writing printed on acid-free paper so you can keep it for years without discoloration or deterioration. Notice the little word so, which turns out to be key when we turn to the so what of copywriting, the benefits.